Welcome to a live edition of Locked On 49ers. Brock Purdy named the most marketable young player in the NFL. Is he on his way to quarterback stardom with the San Francisco 49ers? All that and more coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Eric_Crocker. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Appreciate all the everydayers. A lot of you already jumping into the live chat. Switched it up this week. Got some traveling going on. Young Leo's turning 5, so we're going to go see the family and celebrate his birthday. So not doing the live on Thursday evening. We're doing it on Wednesday evening here instead. So thanks everybody for joining us there. And if you want to join our live YouTube episodes, make sure you're subscribed up there on YouTube. And you can find us obviously on the audio pods, wherever you get your podcasts. What do you think, Croc? Most marketable young player in the NFL, Brock Purdy, at the top of the list. And this wasn't just some Yahoo somewhere making a list on some website. This is the NFLPA. They're like, they're hitching their wagon to young Brock Purdy, saying that this is going to be the dude.
You know, I was a little confused at first because it's the way it's worded. It said that Brock Purdy was the #1 rising star in the NFL. And I was thinking like, okay, you got #1. I understand. But if you have Patrick Surtain on this list, right, like which he is, I think he was like number 7. Like, well, how is Patrick Surtain, a guy who's been first team All-Pro, been balling since he came into the league, and he's on this list? And then I see guys like Breece Hall, but I don't see Sauce Gardner, who also was first team All-Pro as a rookie. How are they not higher? And then I kind of learned what went into being #1. So let me read off this list here. Starts off, poised to have a breakout season. All right. Which, again, you got Surtain on there. He's already had a broken out season, but then he's still on the list. That's weird to have him on there. All right. Gains fan support. I think that's huge, especially when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, the huge, large fan base that the 49ers have, which we see every time we record. And all the other shows, on all these different networks and everything, they get a lot of support from a massive fan base. All right. And then ranking amongst the top sellers of all NFL official licensed player merch, which when you are a quarterback and you're playing in the market that the 49ers play in, and then you do as well as he did as a rookie, I would only assume that you'd really be one of the top jersey sellers once they start making those. Because were they making Brock Purdy jerseys last year? Probably not, right? Third string quarterback. And then I went back and looked at who followed him in the sense of the order, and it looked like you have Brock Purdy, Garrett Wilson. Where is he at? New York. Large fan base, large market. After him, Tony Pollard. For the Dallas Cowboys, there's no more Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard's the guy. I bet they assume, hey, there's going to be a big tick in his jersey sales, just the love that he gets, and he's playing in a huge Dallas market. Of course, they probably have the most fans in America's team. All right, then even if you go back a year prior to that, last year, the top 3 guys, Trevon Diggs, Dallas Cowboys, A.J. Brown, Philadelphia Eagles, huge, large, very passionate fan base. All right, Hunter Renfrow, for all the mess that the Raiders are, they have a very big and loyal fan base. So once I started kind of looking at the criteria, how they went to about this, I quickly understood why Brock Purdy is and should be the #1 rising star in the NFL, according to the NFLPA.
Surtain is a strange one because he's already broke out. He's one of the top. To be honest with you, Croc, is there a better? Are there 2 corners you would rather have on your football team right now than Patrick Surtain and Sauce Gardner?
Right. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's the marketability of a quarterback. So Jordan Love, I believe, 10th on the list, right? Packers quarterback. So, if you're a star quarterback with the Packers, you're going to be a very popular person. If you're a star quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, you're going to be a very popular person. But what I found pretty wild is that first-round quarterback who we know for sure is going to be the starter. Even more, we know about him being the starter than Brock Purdy because of what's going on with Purdy's injury right now. Kenny Pickett, first round pick, right? And so there's extra marketability there. And he wasn't on the list. He's behind Brock Purdy, even as far as quarterbacks go. So that tells you what they think about Brock Purdy, about the San Francisco 49ers, and the marketability there if Brock Purdy does what he did last year long-term for the 49ers.
How good do they think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be? How good do you think Pittsburgh is going to be?
I'll put it this way. We actually did a podcast about this a few weeks ago when the schedule came out, because my guy, Matt Williamson, make sure everybody you subscribe up to the Peacock and Williamson NFL show daily. We cover the entire league, and Williamson is from the Pittsburgh area, covers the Steelers. And he's glad, first of all, that the Steelers are getting the 49ers in week 1 because of the up in the air quarterback situation. And it'll be the first game back for Brock Purdy if he is playing. But he said that, give Kenny Pickett all those weapons the 49ers have, and he'll take Kenny Pickett all day long over Brock Purdy. And he said, in a vacuum, all talent around the quarterback equal, he still thinks is as good as Brock Purdy looked at the end of last year. He said, yeah, give me Shanahan, give me Kenny Pickett all day long. So I don't know what the listeners think about that. I'm sure a lot of 49ers fans would rather have their guy. I'm sure Pittsburgh Steelers fans would all rather have their guy. But I think the 49ers aspect of it is absolutely the biggest aspect of this, but you got to be good long-term to sell a bunch of jerseys. So, if Brock Purdy,
no, you don't, you have to have a good moment and then have some excitement.
Well, you're going to stop selling jerseys. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be, how you sell a lot of jerseys is be a Hall of Fame quarterback for decades. That's how you sell a lot of jerseys. Like, selling them for 1 year is a nice little blip, but there's a lot more Peyton Mannings than Tim Tebow jerseys out there.
I'll say this about kind of the quarterback comparison between Brock Purdy and Kenny Pickett. To me, it feels like there's this instinctive aspect to Brock Purdy's game that maybe Kenny Pickett quite doesn't have. Because obviously, the terrific team around Brock Purdy, terrific play caller. And I saw George Kittle on a podcast where they talked about Kyle Shanahan running plays that he knows isn't going to work. And he said, yeah, against Seattle, they ran this play, ran it again. And then the fourth time he ran it, right? He ran the first 3 knowing might not work. I don't care. I'm just setting up this to hit Deebo Samuel behind him, which ended up going for a 75-yard touchdown, right? So it definitely helps to have a Kyle Shanahan and that mindset. But there's also plays where in that game, when Brock Purdy goes left, goes right, goes left, goes right, throws the ball to Brandon Ayuk, drops a touchdown, right? Like, that's this instinctive ability that I don't know Kenny Pickett has that. Or when he played his first start against Tampa Bay and he's rolling right and he kind of stops and steps up and throws a dime to Deebo Samuel. Those are things that you can't quite, that has nothing to do with the players around him or the coach or the scheme. So I think there are certain things that we saw from him. While I understand the talent aspect of it, Kenny Pickett maybe a little faster, maybe not as twitchy though. It's still hard for me to say, oh, he just have the same exact success that we saw Brock Purdy have.
There is some athleticism to Kenny Pickett's game, but he doesn't have that. There is something with Brock Purdy that was fun to watch with his playmaking ability. He doesn't want to quit on the play and kind of ran himself into trouble at times, but it never really bit him. Kenny Pickett doesn't really have that playmaker aspect. It's sort of like a good point guard versus Jason Williams, right? With the way that looked. It's like there's an innate ability that's something there, and it's hard to even just put your finger on exactly what it is.
It was kind of like college Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, I could see that. Right. But it worked in a way that it didn't for Manziel in the NFL when he tried to play that way.
Right.
You know what Kenny Pickett has that Purdy doesn't is the fake slide, which is like just a cheat code of a move for a quarterback to have in this day and age.
That pissed me off. They made a change to that rule right away. They're like, any type of fake, whatever, like you'll get flagged and all type of stuff. So I'm glad that the conference responded accordingly and took that out of the game, because that was some BS.
Yeah, somebody earlier was in the chat was talking about the Brock Purdy jersey selling out. They definitely did not have a lot of Brock Purdy jerseys on hand when he broke out late last year. They are now, I'm sure, very stocked up. You can go find a number 13 in probably any store that sells 49ers jerseys.
You're gonna buy you one? I don't buy jerseys, but are you gonna buy you one?
No, I don't do the jersey thing. You have we talked about my jersey thing?
Well,
I've talked a lot with Wink. I'll talk about jerseys and what my criteria is for buying a sports jersey, not just for me, but my advice for other folks out there, because I don't buy a lot of sports jerseys. We'll get into that next. I want to talk next, Croc, about speaking of Brock Purdy, like whether it's Purdy, Jimmy G. I mean, going back to Cap, how come the 49ers can't have a normal offseason for their quarterback where they're just healthy and have a normal offseason practice and get ready to play a stinking season for the San Francisco 49ers? Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Make your way to FanDuel right now because new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. We've got NBA and NHL playoffs now in the books. Champions have been earned, and championships and banners will fly forever for those teams, but you can still bet on NBA and NHL futures. You can bet on a ton of NFL futures. There's week 1 through week 17 lines already at FanDuel. Players of the year, rookies of the year, over under win totals for every team. I believe the line is still 10.5 wins for your San Francisco 49ers. Great promotions every day at FanDuel. Love the app, the website, super easy to use. Build your own parlays. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. I want to go into the chat real quick here, Croc, before I talk about NFL jerseys. And it was I want you to tell me if you can decipher this, if this adds up to you. Michael says, BP 13, Brock Purdy, not Brian Peacock. 1 + 3 = 4. Year 2 for Brock Purdy, 4 + 2 = 6 Lombardis. Does that math add up for you?
There's too many numbers up there. I don't get it.
I don't know where the. Okay, so if you add 1 and 3, you get 4, and since it's year 2, that's where he gets 2 + 4.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. I hope so.
I like it. I think you're on.
We said we were going to talk about jerseys, and I see Kyle Hahn, and he says, "Hey," he said, "How Croc going to say he don't buy jerseys when we see a Lakers jersey in the back?" I have 3 jerseys. All right, I have this Magic Johnson jersey, I have a Colin Kaepernick jersey, and I have a Sharks jersey that says Daddy Shark on the back. And I did not buy any one of those jerseys. I didn't buy none of them.
I only own 1 jersey that I purchased, and I only own well, I take it back. I have like some softball jerseys that were actually my jerseys that I played games in. Aside from those, I have 2 jerseys. 1 I purchased, 1 was purchased for me. 1 says Peacock has the number 10 San Francisco Giants jersey. My wife has a Dodgers one. It was a big thing at our wedding. It was a Giants family and a Dodgers family coming together. In 2010, we were married. Hers says Peacock. It's a Dodgers jersey. Mine says Peacock. They both have the number 10 for the year 2010 we got married. That was purchased for me. And then I have a Visalia Oaks minor league, like 1989, 1990 jersey. It doesn't even have a name on the back. It just has a number. So those are the 2 jerseys I own. And when it comes to,
I do have the Christian McCaffrey jersey. It was a gift from a buddy of mine at San Jose State, and it's actually autographed by Christian McCaffrey. That was a gift.
There you go. Oh, I take it back, Croc. I do have another jersey. I have a 41 New York Jets Eric Crocker jersey, too.
Oh, yeah, you do have that. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So we got a signed McCaffrey jersey.
Yeah. Gift. I don't. The buying the jersey thing, the guys leave and stuff a little too much. And, I would have thought Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be around for 10 years, and then he just wasn't. And then I would have thought Trey Lance would have been around for 10 years, and it looks like he just probably won't be. So it's like I'm just not going to spend $150 on the jersey. I'll go watch the team and everything, but I always wear my Kaepernick jersey when I go to the game.
I agree. Critical thinker in the chat, by the way. Great knowledge here. Kirby Puckett, former Visalia player. Visalia Oaks were the Minnesota Twins single A club when I was a kid, and then they became the Oakland A's minor league club, like Zito and Hudson and Mulder and all those guys came through town. And then now I believe they are the Arizona Diamondbacks, single A. farm team. So there you go. Visalia Oaks, my hometown. So I'm with you, Croc. Like, players move around too much. Weird stuff happens with players. You think he's going to be the next great, and then he gets hurt and disappears, or he gets arrested, or something crazy happens. You never know. My number one theory, and I get asked all the time, and I've been asked this a lot since Brock Purdy showed up. Like, hey, should I get that Brock Purdy jersey? And I always say the answer is always no. People are like, hey, should I get that Debo jersey? I was like, no, you shouldn't. And then look, he almost left he's asking for a trade last offseason. Should I get that Bosa jersey? It's like,
and then they want to change numbers too.
Oh yeah.
And then Debo would have changed the number 1.
Yeah, if it didn't cost him so much that he had to buy out his jersey stock, he'd probably be wearing number 1 or number 0 right now. So my number 1 criteria for buying a jersey, I don't really buy jerseys, but my advice to people is buy a retired player's jersey. You can't even be 100% sure that someone who's retired is not going to do something weird either, like OJ Simpson. But you at least know what teams they played for, and you know that Patrick Willis retired a 49er. You wear that 52 with pride. You know exactly what that career was.
If you know the player, it's okay to get the jersey. So I see Michael in the chat. He says, if you know the player, do you get jersey? Of course.
If you know the player that well, he should get you the jersey for you.
Right.
Get that game worn.
Like I got my San Jose State one right here.
Terradome says, I only buy Hall of Famers. There you go. That's a good criteria.
My guy, Drew Jenkins, I train him. He's at San Jose State.
There you go.
This is game worn right there.
Game worn. Signed. That means something.
Yeah.
Future star right there. And yeah, and that's just me and you, Croc, and jerseys aren't a big deal for us. It's sort of like sneakers. How if you're a sneakerhead, you got a whole closet that's dedicated to just sneakers. You got 200 pairs of sneakers. You know what I mean? I buy a pair of sneakers till they fall off my feet, and then I buy another one and put them on my feet until they fall off my feet. Right. And so with jersey, it's like, it's not an important thing to me. And I would rather spend the money on going to a game. You spend the money on other things than buying a jersey that costs so much money. Especially if you're talking about buying a jersey. For me, buying a jersey for, the family, you already go into the game, you're dropping another extra 150 on jerseys on top of food and tickets. That could get pretty rough pretty darn quick. But some people are the other way, where they just love collecting jerseys, and I totally get that too, because then it doesn't matter. A guy changes his number, it's like, cool, I'll get that number too. I'll get the 24 and the 8 Kobe jersey, right? Or I'll get all the alternate colors. Like, I want weird jerseys. I'll go to a garage sale, there's just this weird jersey of someone I don't care about, it's some team that I didn't even root for, but it's a cool jersey, so I'll buy that. So I understand that aspect too. And if you go that way, then yeah, have at it. Go to town. There's a question in the chat here I want to go to. Viet Ta says, what is the most marketable Locked On podcast on the network?
Oh, we know the answer to that.
Clearly it's Peacock and Williamson. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. It's Locked On 49ers.
In all seriousness, Locked On 49ers and Locked On Packers, are the two biggest.
They're the two most popular, and we go back and forth. It's been fourth on our side for a while. Last year, Croc and I really dominated on Locked On 49ers, so we really appreciate all the listeners out there, all of the support, being the everydayers for us here. It's pretty awesome to see how much the network as a whole has grown, and seeing this show grow and be the number one show on the network is really cool. But I think the last month, I think Peter got us back though. So I think Peter was on top, Locked On Packers. So guys, tell a friend, make sure you're subscribed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts, and make sure Locked On 49ers stays on top again for the year.
Storylines for the 49ers and Packers helps tremendously, right? So 49ers, we always have storylines surrounding our quarterback situation, and then they go on a run at the end of the year. It feels like the last couple of years like that has happened, and then boom, we explode, right? Or drafting Trey Lance at number 3, the show explodes. With the Packers, there's been a lot of weird things with Aaron Rodgers that boom, the show explodes. And then now Aaron Rodgers is gone. So now any details that they can get out of OTAs or anything that has to do with Jordan Love, the show is going to do very well. So it's really between our two shows. And I think we were told that our show and the Packers show are like the only shows that are ranked in Apple and Spotify, or something like that. So that's pretty, this is all the fans. This is all the listeners. We really appreciate y'all.
And let's be honest, the most handsome hosts too, right, Croc? I mean,
Right.
Croc's
Peacock
down
got the
to
nice
one.
beard and everything going
I
on. He
mean,
got the great voice.
Croc's down to 188 pounds. He's over here bench pressing what 300 pounds for fun, 310, something crazy like that.
I've hit 315. I probably can go about 10 pounds heavier.
Viet Ta in the chat is a great point. He says Scottie Pippen, my favorite player, starting to do some weird things too. See, you can't even be sure about retired Hall of Famers.
He's right from up the street, Hamburg. So Hamburg's about 15 minutes from me. I think
really?
he still might live there.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he still might live there. And then like now that I know where he's from and where like that little town is like one street, like
he went to a small school, right? Pippen.
he went to UCA, I think, University of Central Arkansas, I believe.
Central Arkansas. Okay, yeah. It's a hotbed in Arkansas. Okay, next, let's talk. Let's get back to the quarterback conversation here a little bit, because it's like, why can't the 49ers ever have a normal offseason for their starting quarterback? And this is beyond Purdy. It's even beyond Jimmy Garoppolo and the Kyle Shanahan era. And whatever you guys want to get into in the chat is your show. Live, Locked On 49ers next. I do want to thank everybody once again for making us your first listen every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Appreciate the everydayers. If you want to be an everydayer and jump in on these live episodes, make sure you're subscribed up on YouTube, hit the notification bell, and you can find us everywhere you get your podcasts. Is it a curse? Like, I think I'm thinking the Packers might be in this zone now where it's like you get back-to-back Hall of Famers, right? You get Montana, you get Young. Yet things have to be weird for a while at quarterback. And the Packers had Favre, they had Aaron Rodgers. They're trying to do the Rodgers thing again, where you drafted a guy in the first round, even though you had a Hall of Famer, and then after a few years, you plug them in. I mean, they're right out of the playbook from 2008 right now of the Green Bay Packers. We'll see if it works out for them. I have a feeling it's going to get weird because you can't just go back to back Hall of Famers. And it has been so weird for the 49ers, not only just the ups and downs of going from Steve Young to then Jeff Garcia, who was pretty good, but, clearly he wasn't a superstar quarterback. And then you go, okay, well, we're going to draft a superstar quarterback. And then you go through the Giovanni Carmazzis and
Jim
Druckenmiller, right. And you guys don't even play at all. They never took a snap for the 49ers. Then you get Alex Smith, and he sticks around for a long time. But, there were other Hall of Famers in the class, and they picked the wrong guy, even though they picked the right guy. Like, everyone loves Alex Smith, but he wasn't Aaron Rodgers, and he wasn't as good as the 49ers hoped when they drafted a quarterback number one.
Booed, and they rooted for Troy Smith to come in over him.
I mean,
people love to forget that happened.
Well, you think of all the quarterbacks that started games after the 49ers drafted Alex Smith. Was JT O'Sullivan after 2005, or was he right before?
After.
Yeah. JT O'Sullivan, Nate Smith. No, not Nate. I'm getting
Davis.
Nate Davis.
I don't know. Smith. Sean Hill.
Troy Smith, and then Sean Hill.
Right.
Then
did Carr start? Did Derek Carr? I mean, or David Carr?
He must have started at least a game. He had to have. And then you go from then Alex Smith finally starts to make good, and he starts to play well. I can't believe he lasted that long. And I think you really have to credit the intestinal fortitude of Alex Smith for even lasting as long as he did and not completely collapsing. He starts to play well. Then Kaepernick shows up. Then he's the guy. Then you trade Alex Smith, and then Kaepernick has that, like, all of a sudden he needs like 7 surgeries that one off season. And then Blaine Gabbert ends up starting the season because Cap is coming back from these injuries and loses weight. And then the whole 2016 thing and the kneeling, and it's like, and then the Garoppolo era, and it's like, cool, got a guy, Garoppolo, torn ACL, ankle, just everything. And he never had a normal offseason. And now you get Brock Purdy, who shows up, and then he gets hurt, and now he doesn't have a normal.
No, you got Trey Lance first.
Oh, and Trey Lance played 4 games. You traded up you spent 3 first-round picks plus to go get a guy number 3, and they're not even going to find out what he's going to be and don't even develop the guy because he gets hurt in his one opportunity, plays a total of 4 games in the NFL, and now you got Brock Purdy, but then Trey still might play, but Purdy, if he gets healthy, is going to play. It's just it can.
And Sam Darnold is better, and he's like magically he's just going to be the guy now. And revitalize his career. It's definitely interesting. I think it's fun for us because it gives us different storylines to really talk about. Like, could you imagine if we didn't have to talk about the quarterbacks? What would we talk about? Like, oh man, Drake Jackson, saw him at practice, and man, he looks bigger. I think he's gonna have a big year. And then like, all right, what do we talk about next?
I mean, it is for content creators is kind of the gift that keeps on giving with the quarterback stuff. And it's always fun to talk about the quarterbacks. And again, one of the reasons the 49ers and the Packers have had a lot of popular podcasts is because their quarterback situations were interesting and because they're playing a lot of games in January. And that's important. So to have an interesting quarterback room and also be winning games, and I've said this before, like it's pretty bizarre that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch aren't even close to being on the hot seat right now, even though the Trey Lance thing is happening. And you might have spent 3 first-round picks on a quarterback, end up getting nothing for him, and still have your job. That's never happened. Can you think of a team that drafted a quarterback that was like a bust in the top 5, and that coach and quarterback kept their job? Or that coach and GM kept their job? I can't think of one.
Usually one guy's out and then the other guy tries to fix it, then it doesn't
work. Yeah. The GM at least blame the coach and then try to do it again and take another whack at it. But those aren't even guys that traded up for their guy.
What about the RG3 situation, right? Where they traded up a lot to get RG3, and then all of a sudden he wins Rookie of the Year, plays very well. I think they ended the season on like 7 straight wins, and that's a tough thing, right? You talk about the development of a quarterback. RG3, I mean, they were losing a lot when he started the year, and all of a sudden, boom, they're rattling off wins. Man, they're a playoff team, but then he has like a torn ACL that he's playing on. Shanahan quarterback hurt again, but then he's playing on like a torn ACL. Then the offseason comes, it's like, we want to just be more of a quarterback. And then it's like, actually, we secretly hate you and want to play Kirk Cousins. So maybe it's the Shanahans too that are part of that, where it's like, they just can't have nothing normal. Wasn't there some weird stuff with Plummer and Mike Shanahan?
I think so. Things did, because obviously they won Super Bowls in Denver with John Elway. Then Plummer came in, and like Mike Shanahan got fired not too long after having a lot of winning teams. And a lot of ownerships and GMs, they're not really. And I think Jed York is probably, especially now, it feels like, because there was a time when they went head coach, and it didn't seem like they knew what they were doing, and he was not letting guys stick around and figure it out. He's been really patient, I think, with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. They're winning too, which makes it easier, but he's been very hands off. We hardly ever hear from Jed York.
Well, he loves them. I mean, we saw the tweets that he put out, and it was like, I love these guys, man. Like, it was clear they were drunk or something.
Oh, the one, yeah, when they were all having the was it just an event or something, or were they
like at a house? It looked like maybe they were at someone's house and they were just all hanging out.
Right, they're all in the kitchen, huh? Yeah, they were. Oh, dude, what's the story with John Lynch at the Pro Bowl? He had like 37 pina coladas or something like that. He's competitive, man. He goes all in with whatever it is. Good point from Terror Dome, says Josh Rosen, prime example of they drafted a quarterback, coach got fired, GM got to stick around, GM ended up getting fired later, but the GM was allowed to pick another quarterback. John Way, here we go. John Elway, the original LeBron James, dragging sorry teams to 3 Super Bowls in the 80s before Sharp, TD, McCaffrey showed up. See, and I don't know if I like that LeBron analogy with Elway, because LeBron won when he was younger.
Elway, no, but remember, LeBron, those Cavs teams, like led by like Mo Williams and Ilgauskas, I think maybe like older version of Larry Hughes. They weren't. They went to the finals. I mean, they got dogged by I think the Spurs got swept, but for that team to just go to the finals, and they were typically. And that was the weird part about LeBron leaving Cleveland that first time. But they were like the number 1, number 2 seed. Like they were like legit, and he's still like, go.
I can't believe the decision. When it was all televised, I was like, LeBron's staying for sure. He's not going to go through this and then leave. He's like,
he had the boys and girls kids there, like, peace out, kids. I'm out of here.
Kids. Have fun in Cleveland. I'm out. All right. We got to get out of here too. Thanks everybody for making Locked On 49ers your first listen every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Appreciate all the everydayers. Appreciate everybody jumping in the live chat. Make sure you're subscribed up on YouTube and everywhere you find your podcast. Croc and I back tomorrow. We're talking about whether this 49ers roster got better position by position. We'll go offense first, then defense. Did the 49ers improve in every position group? Next, right here, Locked On 49ers.
Subscribe to this video.